All right, let's jump right into a question that, kind of shapes our entire lives, something philosophers have been wrestling with forever. Where do our morals actually come from? Are they just out there, like written in stone, waiting for us to find them? Or are they something we made up ourselves?
I mean, really think about that for a second. Is the idea that murder is wrong a fundamental fact of the universe, something we just discovered, like we discovered gravity? Or is it a really, really powerful rule that we as humans came up with so we could build societies that actually function? So we're looking at two big possibilities here. On one side, you've got this idea that morality is a set of universal truths, unchanging, objective, kind of like the laws of physics. But on the other side, there's this idea that morals are human creations, more like the rules to a game we invented. And in this explainer, we're really going to dig deep into that second possibility.
Now, to even begin to entertain the idea of a human-made morality, we first have to take a step back and get comfortable questioning the whole concept of fixed, absolute truths. And that whole journey starts by looking at a very particular way of thinking.
And that way of thinking is called dogma. You've probably heard the word. Dogma is basically when a set of beliefs is presented as totally 100% true, completely beyond question. It's the idea that some things are just true, period. No need to look any further.
And when you break it down, you can see how dogma works. It's built on these fixed beliefs that are defended, sometimes fiercely, even when new evidence comes along. And a lot of the time, the origins aren't from some open-minded search for truth, but from tradition or personal bias. All of this, of course, creates a massive resistance to change.
But you might be thinking, okay, but what about the experts? What about the philosophers who spend their whole lives trying to find truth with pure objective reason? Well, this is where the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche comes in with a pretty wild idea. He said we should be skeptical, not necessarily of truth itself, but of the people claiming to have found it.
He argued that a philosopher's big, grand theory is often less about objective reality and more of, well, a confession. A confession of who they are, what they're afraid of, what they secretly want. It's a really powerful idea that just flips the whole traditional view of philosophy on its head.
So the argument goes like this. These huge, complex theories about the universe and what's good or bad, they often come directly from a philosopher's own life, their own feelings, their own needs. They aren't discovering some timeless truth, they're taking their own personal viewpoint and just dressing it up in fancy, intellectual language to make it sound universal.
So, if even the professional truth finders are just expressing their own biases, what in the world does that mean for our ideas of right and wrong? Let's follow that thought.
It leads us right here to the core argument of this whole perspective. Morality isn't something that was handed down to us from on high, and it isn't something that's just baked into the cosmos. It's something we built. We made it.
And this really lays out the two views, side by side. Is morality a fixed law, like gravity, the same for absolutely everyone, everywhere, all the time? Or is it a human construct, something that changes? Because if it's something we created, that would explain so much. Like why different cultures and different time periods have had wildly different ideas about what's good and what's evil.
So here's the real kicker. Our values don't come from some kind of pure, abstract reason. They grow out of the messy soil of our lives. Our need to survive, our need to have a society that works, our need to find some meaning. And for Nietzsche, this isn't some flaw in our thinking. It's just how life works. Your perspective isn't some obstacle blocking the truth. It's the only way you have of seeing anything at all.
Now, I know this can feel a little heady, a little abstract, so let's use a fantastic analogy from the source material to make this super clear. The sculptor and the block of marble.
Okay, so the traditional view is like a sculptor who carves this amazing statue and then insists it was already there, hidden inside the marble. They'll say, I didn't create it, I just discovered it. I just chipped away all the extra stone to reveal the perfect truth that was waiting inside. But this new perspective? It argues something totally different. It says the statue wasn't discovered at all. It was created. It was forged by the sculptor's own choices, their personal vision, their skills, their biases, their desires. The final statue is a confession of who that sculptor is. The art is a product of their unique perspective.
Okay, so if we run with this idea for a minute, that our truths and our morals are more like that created statue than a discovered one, what does that actually mean for us, for how we live our lives?
If there is one single thing to take away from all of this, it's this. Morality is not found,
it is made. This completely changes the game. It suggests our values aren't things we just passively uncover. They're active creations. We aren't just reading a rulebook. We're the ones writing it. And that changes everything.
And that, of course, leaves us with a final, absolutely massive question. If this perspective is right, if there are no fixed moral rules written in the stars for us to find, if we are the ones who create our own values, then what on earth should they be? And maybe even more importantly, who gets to decide? That's definitely something to think about.